Have you ever wondered why you feel so tired, even when you've done everything right? Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but the quiet exhaustion that comes from fighting life itself. You push, you plan, you perform, you keep trying to hold everything together, even as something inside you whispers, "This isn't it." Maybe you've mistaken tension for strength. Maybe you've called rest laziness and silence failure. You've been taught to force, to chase, to conquer, but no one ever told you how to let go without falling apart. What if the peace you've been chasing isn't at the finish line, but in the space where you finally stop running? What if life isn't something to win, but something to feel, like a river you were never meant to control? This isn't about giving up. It's about returning to a part of you that already knows how to listen, how to move with the flow, not against it. Alan Watts once said, when you stop forcing life, something magical begins to happen. Maybe that something is already trying to find you. So breathe. You don't need to fix anything right now. Just be here. Let the stillness speak. And let's begin where effort ends and truth begins. Have you noticed how tired you are lately? Not just in your body, but in that silent place behind your eyes, the place that keeps pretending, pushing, holding it all together. You wake up with a list in your head before your feet even touch the ground. You move through the day checking boxes, smiling when you're breaking inside, telling yourself, just keep going. But going where? There's a weariness that comes not from doing too much, but from doing too much of what isn't true to you. From living a life that feels like a performance, constantly adjusting yourself to fit expectations that no longer feel like they belong to you. You force yourself to be productive, to stay positive, to push through, even when your soul is whispering, "I'm not okay." You hold on to relationships that feel hollow, routines that feel like cages, dreams that no longer feel like yours. And the more you try to force it, the more everything slips away, like water through open hands. You weren't born to live like this. You weren't meant to grind yourself down in the name of achievement. Somewhere along the way, you learned to survive, but forgot how to feel alive. What if the tiredness you carry isn't a sign that you're weak, but a message, a quiet nudge from life, saying there's another way? Not a way of control, but a way of trust, of presence, of softness without fear. You don't have to keep fighting. You can rest, not as a reward, but as a way back to yourself. And maybe that's why you're here, because something in you is done with the struggle, done with forcing, done with pretending you have control over a life that never asked to be controlled. You see, long before we measured our worth by productivity, before we filled every moment with noise and goals and endless striving, there were ancient voices, whispers carried through mountains and rivers that spoke of another way. Taoism, Zen, not philosophies to memorize, but ways of remembering, ways of coming home. They don't teach you how to win at life. They invite you to feel it, to move with it, to trust it. The Tao, meaning the way, isn't something you master. It's something you allow, like the wind that moves through the trees or the seasons that change without asking permission. It flows, and when you stop resisting, you begin to flow too. Lao Tzu said, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao." Because the moment we try to explain life, we pull ourselves out of it. And Zen? Zen doesn't care what you believe. It's not here to impress your intellect. It simply asks, can you be here? Right now, in this breath, in this silence, no fixing, no chasing, just being, fully, honestly, deeply. Taoism and Zen are not escapes from life. They are invitations to live it more truthfully, to surrender the illusion of control and rediscover the quiet wisdom that's always been inside you. Because life doesn't need you to force it, it only needs you to trust it. to soften, to open, to remember the rhythm that was never lost, only forgotten. But knowing this, feeling the pull of Tao and Zen, doesn't always make it easy to live them. Not in a world that praises control. Not when everything around you tells you to push harder, move faster, prove more. This is where Alan Watts stepped in. Not as a guru, not as a preacher, but as a translator of truth. A voice that met the Western mind where it was and gently opened the door. He didn't offer commandments. He offered metaphors. Simple, playful, profound. He told stories. He laughed often. And through his laughter, something softened in us. Something began to remember. Watts wasn't trying to make us Eastern. He was reminding us we had always belonged to something deeper. Long before success became our religion and effort became our only language. He spoke of rivers and music and wind. He said life was like a song. Its beauty is not in rushing to the end, but in dancing with each note. And suddenly what felt abstract became personal. What felt foreign began to feel familiar. Because he wasn't just sharing philosophy, he was pointing to something we had always known, but forgotten how to trust. Watts didn't ask us to abandon life. He invited us to be more alive in it, to drop the armor, to step out of the mental maze, to stop trying to force the river, and begin to float with it. He reminded us, peace is not the prize for doing everything right. It's the path that appears when you stop trying so hard to get it all right. And maybe, in listening to him, we begin listening to ourselves again. The part of us that no longer wants to control everything, just to feel something real. Alan Watts often spoke of life as a river, not a straight path, not a staircase you climb, but a wild, flowing, unpredictable river, moving with a rhythm all its own. And the truth is, most of us are trying to swim upstream, fighting the current, clinging to control, telling ourselves that if we just try harder, paddle faster, we'll finally reach the peace we're chasing. But the more we resist, the more exhausted we become. And that exhaustion? It isn't weakness. It's a signal, a quiet whisper that says, you're going the wrong way. We're taught to believe that letting go means giving up. But that's not true. Letting go isn't about failure. It's about faith. It's about realizing that you're not here to conquer the river. You're here to move with it. You don't have to fight life. You don't have to push so hard against what already is. Because the resistance, that tight, anxious grip on how things should be, is what creates the suffering. You lose a job. A relationship ends. A plan falls apart, and instead of letting it go, you hold on with trembling hands as if your survival depends on controlling what's already slipping away. But it's not the loss that hurts most. It's the resistance to the loss, the unwillingness to trust that maybe, just maybe, life knows something you don't. And in those moments, when the current feels too strong, when you feel like you're drowning, you have a choice. You can keep fighting, keep struggling, or you can surrender, not in defeat, but in wisdom. Because when you finally stop resisting, you begin to feel something else, a quiet strength, a deeper rhythm, the gentle truth that maybe the river isn't trying to destroy you, it's trying to carry you home. So take a breath, loosen your grip, and float. Let go of the shore. The current knows where you're going. It's no wonder we struggle to let go. We've been trained since childhood to believe that life only rewards those who force it. Work harder, push more, don't stop, don't rest, don't feel. Western culture worships control. We call it ambition. We dress it up as success. But beneath it all is fear. Fear of falling behind. Fear of being seen as lazy. Fear that if we don't control every outcome, we'll lose everything. So we plan, we schedule, we set goals and measure worth by results. We treat our lives like machines, always needing to be optimized, upgraded, perfected. And what do we lose in the process? presence, wonder, stillness. The soft, sacred moments that don't show up on a calendar. The spontaneous laughter, the unplanned beauty, the slow mornings that ask for nothing. When control becomes our compass, peace becomes a stranger. We no longer know how to sit with what is. We only know how to fix, improve, adjust. But here's the quiet truth. You were not born to be managed. You are not a project. You are not a task to complete or a result to optimize. You are a living, breathing expression of life. And life is not linear. It's not a straight path or a ladder to climb. It's a mystery to be met, a dance to be moved with. Yet we've built entire systems, schools, jobs, even relationships, on the illusion that control equals safety. But the more we try to lock life down, the more lifeless it becomes. You may have felt this, that ache, that sense of doing everything right and still feeling lost, still feeling empty. Because the soul doesn't thrive on certainty, it thrives on connection, on presence, on the freedom to be. And if that freedom feels far away, it's not because you failed, it's because you've been taught to value effort over essence, productivity over peace. But that can change, not through more force, but through unlearning, through remembering what you already knew, before the world convinced you otherwise. So how do we live this wisdom in a world that glorifies the opposite? How do we embody Wu Wei, this ancient art of effortless flow, when everything around us screams, hurry up, do more, don't stop? Here's the truth. Wu Wei doesn't mean doing nothing. It means not forcing anything. It's not apathy. It's not laziness. It's presence. It's alignment. It's knowing when to act and when to wait. In a world addicted to movement, Wu Wei asks us to pause, to breathe, to listen before reacting, to feel before fixing. It's choosing quality over quantity, depth over speed. It's having the courage to say no, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You don't need to answer every message right away. You don't have to prove your worth through overcommitment. You don't have to chase what doesn't resonate. Wu Wei is trusting the invisible rhythm of life, even when it doesn't match your calendar. It's knowing that just like nature, you have seasons too. There are times for blooming, times for building, and there are times to rest, to reflect, to be still. But we've been taught that stillness is weakness, that if we're not producing, we're falling behind. And so we panic in the pause. We rush when we should wait. We force what isn't ready and wonder why nothing feels right. Wu Wei reminds us the river flows on its own. You don't have to push it. You only need to stop resisting it. This is a practice, a return, a quiet rebellion in a world that's forgotten how to listen. It's hearing the whisper beneath the noise, feeling the truth beneath the pressure, and having the presence to ask what feels aligned, not just expected. Because sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to be still enough to hear the answer. There comes a moment, quiet and unannounced, when something inside you whispers, I can't keep living like this. Not because you failed, not because you're weak, but because, deep down, you're ready to stop forcing what was never meant to be forced. And in that moment, something shifts. You stop trying to outrun your own soul. You stop fighting the current, stop chasing approval, stop molding yourself to fit a life that doesn't feel like yours anymore. You pause, you breathe, and for the first time in a long time, you listen. And that's when the transformation begins. Not when you push harder, not when you fix every flaw, but when you finally allow life to meet you right where you are. When you stop resisting, you make space. Space for clarity, space for healing, space for the things that have been trying to find you, but couldn't reach you through all the noise. True freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about no longer needing to prove who you are. It's the peace that comes when your actions from alignment, not anxiety. You begin to notice you're not behind. You were never behind. You were just too busy fighting the flow to see that life was always trying to carry you forward. And now, you're not forcing. You're not controlling. You're moving with it. That's when the right people appear. The right answers emerge, not because you chased them, but because you stopped blocking them, because you became available to the version of life that's been waiting for your surrender. And suddenly, you realize that freedom was never a finish line. It was a way of being, a soft return to who you really are. Maybe you didn't need more answers. Maybe you just needed permission to stop pushing, to soften, to feel again. Life was never meant to be a fight. It was meant to be felt. And the moment you stop forcing, you begin to remember what peace tastes like. Not the kind sold in books or promised by achievements, but the kind that rises in silence, when you let go of needing to control it all. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply remembering a truth you once knew, that you don't have to force life to feel alive in it. So let this be your turning point. Not a grand declaration, but a gentle shift, a breath, a pause, a choice to trust the flow, to trust yourself. Because when you stop resisting, everything begins to move, not away from you, but toward you. And that is where freedom begins. If something in this video spoke to you, leave a comment. Tap like, just once, quietly. And if you'd like to keep walking through moments of awareness like this, hit subscribe, not to follow me, but to follow yourself on the journey back to what's always been true within you.